1. I met my roommate in college 5 years ago. We were both going for studio engineering and music production. We became great friends almost instantly. We would often share beats with one another and also collaborate on some projects together. At one point, we were marketing ourselves as a duo for music production. We were trying to get noticed by more famous artists in our area. We made trap and R&B beats. Some local artists have used our beats, but no one major. Here's a quick side note. Whenever we would send out beats, we would send them .wav files, and it would always be in a loop, never the complete beat. Never the actual project file. This protected us from thieves. During the holidays, I went home. He stayed behind. I sent him over a loop in a WAV file. A few hours, I'm on Snapchat. He is in studio with a local artist playing my loop. At first, I'm super stoked. I try to FaceTime my roommate. He doesn't answer. He just sends me a message saying, "Send over the project file." I tried to FaceTime him again. He doesn't answer. Right away, I know what he's trying to do, so instead, I go over to the local artist's Instagram and check his story. It's him in the studio with my roommate. The artist says, "Yeah, I'm here in the studio about to hop on this track that my man," insert my roommate's name, "made." Now I'm livid. I tried calling my roommate again. He answers, and my first question was, "Why is he saying that's your beat?" My roommate just says, "You know how it is, man. Just send over the project file so I can arrange it for him, and he's ready to go right now." I hang up and never send the file over. He calls me over 20 times, and he sent me a message saying, "That's fucked up. That could have been our big break. You know he knows people in ATL and NYC. I'm gonna tell him it wasn't mine. Fuck you, bro. You just ruined us." Now he left. You made us look stupid. I didn't respond. Instead, I messaged the artist, explaining the situation to him, and told him I could be in his area if he really wanted the beat. I told him I lived 20 minutes outside the city and could be there in about an hour. Now remember, this is a local artist, no one famous by any means. He does know people, but he himself is not famous. So he responds and tells me to come through. I play the full beat for him, and he says he wasn't feeling it anymore, which artists say a lot. He then goes on to tell me that my roommate tried for hours to remake my beat, but couldn't even figure out the drum pattern. And that's how he knew he lied about the beat being his. He even called him out on it, and my roommate still said it was his, but he was drinking and smoking when he made it. Now he will never trust him again. And he told all his homies to do the same. Now, local artist doesn't want to work with my roommate because they don't know if what he brings is stolen or not, which everyone knows in the music world is a really bad idea. Bottom line, don't try to steal from me. But now I gotta find a new place to live. 2. This story takes place 4 years ago. After working in hospitality in Australia, I had a rude awakening when returning home to the UK and trying to be a bartender. Going from working as a supervisor in a topless bar near Sydney, still my best job to date, to working in TGIFs. Even though I was able to get 6 5-star reviews on TripAdvisor in one night for my bartending with the customers, the managers still treat you like you're a child that doesn't know their vodka from their red wine. I decided to leave TGIFs and look for another supervisor bartending job, as I thought if I managed myself it will be better. And I found a job really quickly, which should have been my first red flag. I attended an informal interview with the landlord, Peter, where I explained how I was able to receive great reviews on TripAdvisor and was able to improve the current 3 out of 5 stars of this pub by using the same techniques I used at TGIF. The second red flag should have been the fact that Peter offers the job within 10 minutes of the interview. Super happy, I took the job and let him know I would give 2 weeks' notice to TGIF, as I always find 2 weeks a professional courtesy. He explains very abruptly that legally I only have to give 1 week's notice, as I didn't work there for a year yet. I explained how the rota was out, and that it would be nicer if I would give it 2 weeks. He scoffed, but agreed to see me in 2 weeks. 2 weeks later, I started my new job as a bar supervisor. The red flags didn't stop. Peter was a micromanager with bad customer service and a bad temper. Just the sort of person you want as your manager. Here are a few of my favorite things that he did. The cellar alarm was going off, carbon monoxide detector. Gas leak somewhere in the cellar, which was from one of the bartenders not being able to change the keg. The manager sees me and tells me to go in and open the door, which I do straight away. Then I go to fix the problem, and then he tells me to F off and go to the bar, which I do. 5 minutes later, he comes back to the bar and shouts at me in front of the customer that I was currently serving. "Why'd you close the effing door?" Then storms off. The customer asks me what that was about. I say I have no clue. Another time, he decides that this family that's enjoying their meal, that the kids have dropped a few peas on the floor, so he brings the table a dustpan and brush to clean it up. The table had their mouths full and thought he was doing a check back to make sure the food was okay. You can see them doing the awkward smile and nod. That was until Peter told them to clean the floor. "I'm not paid to clean up after your kids." The family thought he was joking. When they worked out he wasn't joking, they just stopped eating and cleaned the floor. They left so quickly after they finished. The supervisor before me had quit because Peter was saying he was going to get them done for stealing. He bragged about the fact that if they stayed, he would have pressed charges. The more he said this, the more I thought it could be Peter just setting this person up for theft, but I had no proof. One time he accepted 2 50-pound notes, which are not only rare but are very known for being fake. The 2 notes he accepted looked like bad photocopies of Monopoly money. You could see they were fake from the next city over. Strange enough, he told me to do my first and only banking that day. The banking didn't accept these notes as they were not real. I made sure to take pictures of them before I left, to cover myself in case he was trying to stitch me up. This one night, everything was falling apart. The kitchen had a 2-hour wait, due to some weird policy that Peter decided to make that night. Not 100% sure what the policy was, but it was something like completing the first check before starting the next. But the best thing was Peter was sitting at tables telling them it was a 20-minute wait. At one point, I was standing in the middle of the dining room apologizing to 4 tables at the same time, as they were all complaining about the 2-hour wait. On top of this, I was due to go home about 2 hours ago. It was a shit show, but that was the night I decided to quit. Here is a review from that night. "Ate there today with my wife and 2 children. Waited an hour and 15 minutes for the first course. When I approached the bar to find out where our dinner was, I was met by a nice chap who said he would find out. Within 10 minutes of being sat down, a lady approached us with our receipt and asked what the problem was. I explained we were still waiting for our food, but she snubbed us and said, 'Would you like me to tell the kitchen you're ready for it?' Can't think of a time when I've ever been to a restaurant, ordered food, paid in full, and then had to tell staff we wanted it delivered. Whilst continuing to wait, it was interesting, overhearing the conversations this waitress was having with other staff about all the complaints they had had, and how they will continue to get bad reviews if they don't change things. Approached the bar again, asking for our food, and could hear lots of swearing by a chap in a pink polo shirt from the kitchens, and so decided to ask for a refund. The nice chap who originally chased the food order up didn't hesitate in refunding me in full, whilst explaining how he should have been home hours ago. The only saving grace of this god-awful place is the nice guy at the bar. First and last visit for us. I was the nice chap, Peter is the pink shirt. There are many other great reviews. I couldn't help the reviews of this place because the landlord was mentioned in nearly every one for his bad customer service. So here is the PettyRevenge. I knew I was going to quit and had another job lined up. I told them I wanted to give this place 2.5 weeks' notice, which would make me leave the day before Father's Day, the busiest day on the books due to the day and the fact that there was a promotion running. But instead of giving in my notice and letting them have 2.5 weeks, I decided to finally listen to Peter and give them the legal requirement of 1 week. I waited 1.5 weeks to give them my notice, making sure he was understaffed for his busiest day of the year. Apparently, it was a complete mess on Father's Day. Looking at the reviews, he was sacked within the next 6 months. 4 years on, the pub has now changed its name and looks like it's doing okay. I still chuckle when thinking back to him saying I can't leave. Yes, legally I can. 3. I work in roadside assistance as a third party for a lot of insurance companies. Like most customer service jobs, we get a heck of a lot of abuse, but most of it comes from the long wait times and or not being fully covered. This happens often, but I very rarely am in the position where I get to see the fallout. Recently, I had a woman call in. She was completely pleasant, but in a huge rush, so she was a little snippy. No worries, I get it. But then it comes to letting her know that she is not covered for assistance, and she has a huge out-of-pocket expense. She whines about the fact that she knows she has roadside. Then that she supposedly set up the service earlier, so not only am I trying to charge her, but it's taking too long. And therefore the price should be waived. Finally, she gives up and tells me I'm useless and says, "Just cancel it," and hangs up. Being the good rep that I am, I call her back to confirm that disconnect was intentional. She picks up and then hangs up immediately, then sends me to voicemail on follow-up calls. So, as instructed, I cancelled the job request. I should note that it doesn't take long, but it's annoying to go over, and if the customer doesn't know their exact location, like being on a freeway, it can take some time. A few hours later, I get a new call from an angry customer wondering where her service is at. I apologize for the frustration and ask for her reference number, and inform her that unfortunately, there isn't any service in the system. She starts going off. I do my best to calm her down and extract the needed information. Halfway through the call, I realize it's the same angry pants woman as before. When we started going over location, I remember the drop-off location, and she gets excited and says, "You found my service. Is the driver on the way? It's ridiculous that it's taking this long. You should get this prioritized or expedited." To which I reply in my nicest CSR voice, "No, ma'am, your service isn't in the system. I remember when we spoke earlier, as you requested, I cancelled the job at that time, so it is only getting open now," and then I told her how long it would now take. "That's more than it was earlier." Yes, the pricing changes throughout our day to continuously match the market, stay competitive, and incentivize drivers to continue taking jobs at unpopular times. Silence from her. Also, we have longer ETAs at this time, so you will want to get this payment taken care of ASAP, so we can find a service provider to avoid a longer wait. I can send a message to you to complete payment. But I never told you to cancel it before." I'm starting to lose patience now. "Ma'am, our calls are recorded," I notate obsessively, "and I called you back multiple times trying to confirm." "I want to speak to your supervisor." Ranting to make me scared. "No problem, one moment. It looks like there is currently a 20-minute wait for a supervisor. I am happy to wait with you." "Fine then. Get my service started." "Certainly, I'll send the text for the payment." She finally broke down and paid it and gave up waiting for a supervisor. She swore up and down that she was going to report me. Either way, I felt vindicated with my tiny bit of malicious compliance. 4. This happened not long ago, where my little half-baked scheme against a grumpy company worked flawlessly. Here in the US, or at least mine and surrounding states, to get a license for specific fields, i.e. cosmetology, general contracting, real estate appraising, you have to pass a standardized test. No biggie, pretty normal stuff. The problem begins where there is only one testing service you're allowed to use. They essentially have a monopoly on the license and testing. I live within a tri-state area and was going to get my third state license to complete the trifecta. That being said, I am very familiar with this testing service. The physical site themselves is very good, and I enjoy the people who work there, but the overall company, including customer service, scheduling, and overall management is complete garbage. Now for the story. I cannot stand this testing service. The amount of hoops you have to jump through is completely unreasonable, even for a state-regulated testing service. I could go on and on about the nightmares I went through with this company over the year it took me to get my licenses. Anyways, so the other day I went back for my 5th time to take my test. I failed my first state the first time and the third state the first time. I live 10 minutes away from the testing site, and they say arrive 30 minutes early, so I left 45 minutes before my testing time. It just so happened that the last mile before the site we had horrific stop-and-go traffic due to roadworks in an area, usually with none. Now, traffic is normal in my area, but it took my commute from 10 minutes to well over an hour. I tried to inform the testing company, but was sent to customer service. They demanded so much information, and I was trying to be decent. I've worked in similar over-the-phone jobs, so I know how rude people can be. But ultimately, it took a while just for them to say they had no direct line and no way to contact them. and I'm going to lose my expensive testing fee. I couldn't afford to take the test again, so the scheming began. While sitting in traffic, I took the testing center's confirmation email and copied-pasted, and resent it to myself, with the only thing being changed is adding enough time for me to be there on time. It was a simple yet very effective scheme, and it was nearly identical to what they sent. Upon arrival, they noticed I missed my testing time, to which I said, "Oh, I thought my time was 2:30, I must be wrong," and proceeded to pull up the crafted email, showing I was right. This caused them to be confused because the blocks are only in certain hour time intervals, yet looked legit enough where they investigated. They saw that I was scheduled for 2 o'clock, but the test I was taking was quite short, and ultimately, without any more fight besides that email, they let me take the test. I was beyond happy to be sitting for that test, and I also passed. That little scheme against a monopolistic garbage fest of a company, plus finishing the trifecta, made that a great day. Goodbye, testing center. 5. A little background. My work as a machine operator. I was training for over a year to be a mechanic. Mechanics on first shift are much better than the ones on second shift. Also, the ones on second shift only speak English as a second language, so it's harder to convey information. That's why I dig swing shift, to learn from first shift. The mechanics are the ones responsible for troubleshooting, fixing, and changing over the machines. There were also a couple of machine operators that started the exact same day as me. One of them was so bad that they had to move him out of the building. The other still can't do basic maintenance, and he sure as shit can't do a changeover. For months I'd been told, "We need you to learn this so we can make you a mechanic and put you in charge of the building." I did swing shifts, split shifts, and overtime to learn all that I could. The mechanics didn't have anything left to teach me. I can fix anything and everything. I can do changeovers faster and more reliably than 3/4 mechanics. I learned enough that a couple of the maintenance guys were even trying to get me in their department when they had an opening, but my supervisor shot that down because I'm too vital where I'm at. Bragging time. There's one machine, I'm usually the only person who ever runs it. It's the only machine in the building that can run all day, every day with no real problems. It wasn't like that when I started 2 years ago. I modified parts, adjusted sequence timing and computer settings to turn it into the most reliable machine in the building. I'm very proud of this machine, so we'll call it my machine. It got to a point where I was the to-go guy to fix the other machine operators' issues. My supervisor would say things like, "I need you to change this machine to this and get that out, truck leaves tomorrow. I don't trust these other guys with it." Sometimes my second shift mechanics would ask me to help them with their problems if they couldn't figure it out, even though they've got 40 years combined experience. They should have no problem with this stuff. I was barely running machine anymore. I spent most of my time helping other people or doing changeovers so first shift could come in and run. So after months of talk, I asked them to deliver on it. Make me mechanic on my shift and give me a raise. "Sorry, we don't think you're there yet." Cue the PettyRevenge. I called off for a few days, used my PTO in case they decide to fire me for what I was about to do. When I came back, I stopped clocking in early to touch base with first shift about what to expect. I stopped helping people, I stopped fixing machines and doing changeovers. I stopped keeping a detailed downtime log. I quit doing general upkeep on the machines. I started taking my time with everything I do. I started taking 45-minute lunch breaks. I have a good work ethic, so when I first enacted my revenge, it took considerable effort to keep myself from doing the things that are above my pay grade, but within my skill set. It took the plant manager a week to call me into his office for a meeting. In that meeting, I told them promises of better things to come wasn't enough for me, and that I didn't want to be a mechanic. He tried to offer me more money, but I reminded him that as of the week prior, I wasn't ready to be a mechanic per my supervisor, so I just want machine operator responsibilities and money. Cue their PettyRevenge attempt. For a couple of months, they were putting me on trouble machines and testing the waters by asking me to do changeovers. I refused the changeovers on the spot, and if a machine wouldn't run reliably with minor adjustments, I text my boss and let him know it requires a mechanic's attention, and ask which machine to run next. I always get a good feeling from that text. because I could fix it if I wanted to. Sometimes I'll even do it to make my day easier overall. They haven't called me out for it either, even though they also know I could fix it. This brings us to today. We've reached an unspoken equilibrium, it seems. They've been keeping my machine scheduled, so I've been running it for a couple weeks now. I say unspoken because I come in, start my machine, and find something to watch on my iPad, and don't talk to anybody all day. That's why I'm here. It's been 3 months, and I'm running out of things to watch. Help! Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Revenge is Ice Cream, episode 211. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. Please do smash the like button before you go, it's been talking back to me a bit, and share the video around with friends and family. Okay, let's see. I don't think we have any shoutouts today, or birthday shoutouts, anything like that, so let's move right along to Hellfreezer's question of the day. And today's question is: what, in your opinion, was the best decade for horror films? Now, I'm going to go with ones within my lifetime, although there has been movies I've enjoyed from before I was born, of course. And I'm going to say the 1980s probably gave us overall the best contributions to the horror genre, which still have an impact to this day. It not only gave us some of our most prolific directors and actors, but the franchises started then still continue even now, whether in their original form or in the form of reboots. Please let me know what you think, and I look forward to reading your answers in a comment below. With that, I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.